Hello and welcome to the video. This is a video about a very rare beast, or it has been quite a rare beast for about the last 9-10 months. That is a brand new plane from HobbyKing. This is the Goblin. You can probably tell that because it's got it written all over it. I've been lucky enough to be sent a couple of units. One was a pre-production, one was an actual version, both in this colour scheme. You can see I've been flying it a lot. It's had a couple of hard crashes, which does speak to its durability. But I've had this one, which is this kind of pinky cyan colour, and there's also a really pretty yellow and black one that I've had as well. So, as this is something that's a bit new, recording this in advance of it being on the HobbyKing website, let me go through and talk about what I found with this thing. Standard format for the video. I'll do the unboxing, show you how easy it is to put together, show you some flight footage, and talk about my summary at the end. But let me show you how it comes in the box and talk about the specs, sizes and details of this thing. So the box itself is a reasonable size. The body is one piece, the wings are one piece, and then you've got the horizontal stabilizer. Now I'm flying it with a 1300 4S pack, and with that right in the nose, it's just giving me the central gravity. So I would potentially go for a slightly bigger pack. Maybe a 1500 might be a slightly better choice than this 1300 I'm using here. So while I unbox this, let me go through the specs. Everything was kind of written on the lid. So first of all, the wingspan on this is 820 millimeters. Length is about 615 millimeters. All up weight is about 820 grams, ready to fly. Prop is a 7x6 electric two-bladed prop inside a very fat, chunky little spinner. Loads of foam in here protecting it to make sure that nothing gets damaged in transit, which is very nice to see. 45 amp Aerostar ESC, 3 9-gram servos. Motor is a 3536 1400 kV motor, which is quite a powerful unit actually. And the recommended battery on the box is a 1000 to 1800 milliamp hour 4S 40C battery. Now I would recommend going for the 1500 or an 1800. I think you'll struggle to get the central gravity right. Now it does come with ball links attached to everything, and in the kit there is the stuff to swap over, and we'll do that in a minute when I put this together. It reckons it's going to do 100 mph plus speed. Is quite a quick thing. I think that's going to have to be in optimal conditions. Flying it around here, it is very quick. It will float beautifully if you turn the prop off. So it is a really nice model for that, and cruising around at 40-50% throttle is still an awful lot of fun. Split elevator at the back, again with the ball joints that we're going to replace, and then you have a little box of bits. Only a single prop, unfortunately. It would be nice to have a spare prop for something like this, where the prop is out at the front, particularly as there is no kind of landing gear or protection, and then you have the vertical stabilizer. It is very quick and easy to put together. All of the steps are covered in the manual, and the only things you're going to need is some foam safe glue. First of all is to attach the main wings. You can just pull the aileron Y cable into the body, and a good liberal coating of glue will get that all sorted. There is a skid pan that will go underneath, and then the horizontal stabilizer at the back and the rudder go in, and then over the top with a bead of glue you're going to need to pop in the vertical stabilizer as well. Then you need to spend some time just setting up those two linkages at the back, and take your time to make sure that you've covered some of the key basics. There are a couple of key things that you need to do. First is to make sure there's at least a 4mm gap between the top of the spinner and the top of the body. On mine, particularly the pre-production one, I had to add a little washer into the motor mount to get that spacing. If it isn't like that, you're going to have a very exciting time, because the thrust angle needs to be like that for it to fly well. HobbyKing recommend that you reinforce the elevator hinges with tape. I've not had a problem with mine, but that's a good idea if you're going to have a model that you're going to fly regularly. Balance the prop and ideally the spinner is another big tip. Check that all the mounting screws are tight. It's pretty standard stuff, most of this for a new plane anyway. I would replace all the ball links with the clevises because the supplied clevises are a lot nicer. The ball links are okay, but they are not as free moving as something like the clevises, and the centre of gravity and all the throws are nicely shown in the manual. So although it'll take you less than 20 minutes to probably put this together, actually doing the fine tuning and then letting the glue set up, you're probably going to need to give that all a day. But then you're ready to go to the field. In terms of flying, what's it like? Well, it actually flies really nicely once you've got that thrust angle on the motor absolutely spot on. And the reason I know that that's the case is when I cut the throttle on the one that I had where the thrust angle wasn't down enough, it flew really nicely. It's got plenty of power. The centre of gravity seems to be in the right place in the manual, so well done, HobbyKing. The throws are about right as well. So if you set it up as per the manual and make sure that you spend your time getting the elevators absolutely level would be my big tip. It's a really, really fun little plane. No undercarriage means that you can land it on the grass, and just make sure that you try and keep the nose up because you don't want to snap that prop, because if you do, then you're going to have to go and buy another one. Very capable of aerobatics and zooming and flying around. For me, this is very reminiscent of the Durafly Bonanza. That's a V-tail park flyer. Very similar kind of idea, but with that one you also have the rudder and the elevator at the back, of course, because it is a V-tail. But this provides an alternative if you like the idea of the Bonanza, but you want something that has a more conventional layout and you're not bothered about the rudder. So there you have it, the new Durafly Goblin from HobbyKing. A couple of things I absolutely recommend that you do, of course, is replace the ball and socket stuff that comes on it with the linkages that you get in the box. These are a lot more precise and give you a much better feel. It'll take you all of about 5 minutes to change them over, and once you do, you'll be glad you did. Remove and balance the prop will be my other bit of advice. Both of mine weren't bad, but it's worthwhile doing just to double check. Balancing things like the spinner is going to be tricky, but the prop is definitely worthwhile taking off and making sure it's okay. Spend a bit of time when you're setting it up getting the elevators exactly level on the back. They're independent, so if you don't get them spot on, it's going to actually introduce some roll. Not a fan of that design. With a bit of work, they could have made it so that the vertical stabilizer had a cutout or a slot or something, so you have a one-piece elevator, and I would have really preferred that and used the space in here to actually have a proper rudder. Miss the rudder on something like this too. And the big tip, of course, is make sure that you have the 4mm between the top of the spinner and the top of the body. That should have been done for the factory, and according to HobbyKing, that's all been updated, but double and triple check that that's the case. I'd recommend have about 4.5mm actually. I had to put a little washer under the front of mine, and I know that the weird flight characteristics that I had, particularly on this one in the early days, were due to the fact that that thrust angle was not down enough. So it was always pulling the nose up. As soon as I cut the engine and turned it into a glider, it flew brilliantly. As soon as I turned the engine on, it started doing some weird stuff. So triple check that that's the case. So in summary, what do I think? Well, I was hoping this would be kind of another EFX. Now, for those of you that watch the channel, you'll know that things like the EFX and the EF Extra are phenomenal little planes. The looks, I think for some people might be quite marmitey. It's quite a stubby little plane. This weird kind of huge spinner with relatively small amounts of prop stuck out either side is an unusual choice. The lack of rudder is a bit of a shame, and the two linkages for the different elevators are things that for me don't really make me fall in love with this particular model. But if you are looking for something that you can just throw and fly about, particularly in a park environment, then this could be a lot of fun. It's quite quick. Be careful because it will get very small very quickly. The big thing I'm taking away from this, and the big thing that I'm very pleased about, is probably less to do with this model and more to do with the fact that this is a brand new model from Durafly and HobbyKing. HobbyKing have been very, very quiet over the past 10 months. Anything that did come out was a rebadge of something they had before. They were going and doing that thing where they just put different colours on existing models, and some of the stock availability has been really patchy. But the fact that they've actually brought out a new model is really encouraging. Hopefully that means we're going to see other things coming out from them as well. I would love to see more Tundra style stuff. I would love to see more AXN Bixler style models. All those things that as hobbyists we have absolutely loved and got behind. Most of the things in my top 10 kit picks list, lots of it is actually HobbyKing planes, if you can get them. So hopefully all that stock is getting sorted out, and HobbyKing are investing again in new models. So I'm going to be watching the website very closely to see what comes next. Links below if you want to have a look at this and you fancy getting one to try one out. Thank you for watching my video and watching right to the very end. If you want to find out what I'm currently working on, you can follow me on social media by searching for Painless360 in the usual places. If you'd like to become part of the inner circle, then you can become a Patreon. Details are in the description and you get lots of additional benefits. Check out the playlist section on the channel too. I organise all of my videos into playlists, and it's called something like Introduction to or for Beginners. All of the content is aimed so that you can start at the very beginning, and it teaches you that subject, starting with simple principles and moving up to teach you everything you need to know.